Hey everybody, welcome back. Another amazing episode of Coffee with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Osborne. With me today is a serial entrepreneur, so this is really cool. He's got his coffee. I like that in a guest. This is Alex Schlinsky, and Alex, like I said, he's a serial entrepreneur. His major passion is the online mastermind and training course he founded, which is Prospecting on Demand. Teaches digital marketers, entrepreneurs, and consultants the very best lead generation, sales methods, and strategies available today. He's a renowned speaker and writer and owns a full-scale digital marketing agency in Tampa, Florida. So welcome, Alex.
Thanks so much for having me, Tracy. Happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to talk about online lead generation because we're all online entrepreneurs. And I'm sure one of the biggest, or the most common questions you get is, where are the clients? How do I find the clients?
100%.
How do I find the people? I know I get asked that almost on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
How do I find the people? So, first of all, let's start about, a little bit about your background. So how did you even get started in the world of entrepreneurialism?
Great question. So first of all, I think it can go all the way back to, as a child, both of my parents are entrepreneurs. My mom worked for Jessica McClintock, which is a large corporation. She worked in the corporate world for 20 years to provide for her 3 children. Once she got high enough into her management position at Jessica McClintock, she finally was able to leave, thankfully due to her financial situation, leave Jessica McClintock and pursue her passion to be an artist. Now, if anyone has been in a high corporate position before, to leave that opportunity in order to pursue your passions in the entrepreneur field is what some would call dumb or risky. But what I would call it is passionate
Yeah.
and driven. And that is a great definition of both my mom and myself. And she owned that art studio for 10 plus years in Aventura, Florida. She had over 1,000 students during that time frame and changed a lot of people's lives. And she's very happy about what she chose to do. So when I saw my mom making that transition, I think that kind of initially inbred into me the idea of being an entrepreneur. My dad did the exact same thing just a year or two later after being inspired by my mom, left his position in the corporate world and started his own financial planning business, very successful now, thankfully, a couple years down that line. So when I left college, as many people do, not really sure what I wanted to do. I graduated University of Central Florida, magna cum laude, as a psychology graduate, and everyone's thinking, oh, you graduate so high in your class, you got to go into psychology, you got to be able to focus on that business model. But it just didn't resonate with me the way I wanted to. I wanted to make an impact on people's lives, but I'm a very impressionable person. A lot of that side of the business, unfortunately, is very negative. It's important, obviously, very important job, but not something that I wanted to get into. At that point, I jumped into what I was passionate about, which was sports journalism. That's when I really started my new foray into entrepreneurship. During that time, I had run a blog. I worked for Sports Illustrated. I was a Miami Dolphins media member. I was growing a lot into the industry, but again, it wasn't fully entrepreneurship. Yeah, sure, I was kind of my own boss and I had my own operations, but I really wanted to have my own business. And during that time frame, I had this miraculous thing happen to me. One day during an event where I was scheduled to do media for, someone was on this application, a Twitter application called TweetDeck. I'd never heard of it before. I'd never seen it before. If anyone doesn't know what TweetDeck is, it's basically like a series of tweets and different forms that you can have on a singular Twitter platform. It's pretty incredible. So we just sparked up a conversation, and he told me that he was a social media manager. This was back in 2013. He was just starting out as a social media manager for this company. And then that blossomed into an opportunity of him telling me that I should definitely go into this industry because it's a tough industry to break into. I had a couple local clients in the digital marketing world. And then I really became super passionate about that, leading to 5 years later, having an agency making over 6 figures every year and starting to coach one-on-one some students that were leaving college that didn't know what they were going to do, just like I didn't. But I wanted to help inspire them find their passion because that's what I feel like I'm capable of doing. People resonate with the passion that I have for my business, and that inspires others to take steps in their own life, in their own business. That's really vital. So that's kind of where the idea of prospecting on demand came about. and you're asking me about lead generation to kind of culminate it and come back here. The idea was, as I was going through the digital marketing world, anyone that's in the digital marketing space, you've probably bought info products before. You've seen the Sam Ovens and the Ty Lopez and the Dave Rogan Mosers and people of that nature that sell products to you to teach you how to do services as a digital marketer, whether it's the best ways to, operate a restaurant's social media page, or the best way to run ads on Facebook or Google, or the best way to make creatives for a website or an opt-in page. The problem, though, is with all of those info products, consistently, time and again, I spent $5,000 into these products, investing in my own business. And I kept seeing over and over and over, all of them missed out on the one key, which is lead generation. They're teaching you how to do services for other businesses, but not how to generate your own leads, as if these leads will magically come and the businesses will magically appear.
Well, That's not how it works?
No, exactly.
And they come?
Exactly. So what I wanted to do was, in our very bloody red ocean, extremely saturated market, I wanted to bring in a new blue ocean opportunity, something that was unique and different to what we see across borders right now in the digital marketing space. And that's where Prospecting on Demand came from. 7 months later, we have over 80 very successful users, an amazing mastermind and community that I'm really proud of. And that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's go ahead and dive into lead generation. And, God, for those of you who don't know what lead generation is, you probably shouldn't be watching this podcast. You need to go back to Entrepreneurialism 101. Lead generation, it's important because the money's in your list, right? And if you don't have that tribe, you don't have that following, you don't have that loyalty, what do you have?
Sure.
Not much.
Absolutely.
So how do you even get started for somebody who's just starting out and they're like, okay, where do I find the leads? What does this even look like? How do they get started?
It's a good question. So it really depends, obviously, on your business model, but let's just take entrepreneurs in general. Okay, you're a business owner. Doesn't matter if you're a brick and mortar store, whether you own an art studio or a restaurant, or you're an in-person consultant where you go business to business, or you're an at-home solopreneur that's running a digital marketing agency. No matter what you're doing, at the end of the day, like Tracy's saying, you need to build some sort of following, some sort of list, some sort of client base so that you can start generating opportunities, what I call RGOs, revenue generating opportunities. When you get started in your business, what happens? Well, the first things you need to do is set up a business model, create some SOPs, standard operating procedures, figure out your offerings, figure out your current clientele, and then go after what? Prospecting, lead generation. Now, the big problem for most people is figuring out the lead generation side. A lot of people kind of throw together a quick business plan and SOPs, but the real reality is all of that process in the back end to create the business, it's not going to mean anything if you have no viable way to generate leads. Ultimately, what's going to happen is you're going to start this business up, and then you're going to say, we're open, and then nothing happens. You need a way to generate leads in properly. So there's two real big schools of thought in lead generation, two major opportunities. Now, the first one is inbound lead generation. Inbound lead generation means leads coming to you, not outreach. They're coming to you based on going through either a referral, going through a funnel that you created to opt into something to schedule a call with you, or they call you directly from a call on Google or something of that nature, or LinkedIn, right? That's inbound lead generation. Without a doubt, no question about it, no one will ever argue this point. Inbound lead generation is the ultimate goal for every single business. Always. You always want people coming to you. It's going to make the sale easier, the process simpler. Everything will be a lot better once you can get inbound lead generation. What's the problem with inbound lead generation? What Tracy was saying. What happens when you're starting? How do you, first of all, know what type of inbound lead generation to do? And second of all, what's the investments involved in that? There's 2 points that I would like to make here that I think are really, really important. The first is the investments can be absolutely severe if you don't understand your customer avatar very well. Before you just dive into lead generation, you really need to understand who your leads are. Who are the people you're trying to speak to? It cannot just be 18 to 45 male or 18 to 45 female. You need to know a lot more about that. You need to know who they are, who they idolize, what they follow, what they're about, why they need to speak with you, what your competitive advantage is, what their pain points are. All of this information is critical to your success. try to find something online called a customer avatar sheet. So you can really dive deep into understanding who your ideal clients, who your ideal leads are. If you don't start with that process, your lead generation is going to be built on a house of cards. It's going to fall down upon itself because you're not going to understand who your proper targets are. If you don't get on a call and within 5-10 minutes of a consultation, knowing whether or not that person is qualified to work with you, you don't understand your leads. You don't understand your customer avatar. So start there. Now, once you started on the customer,
let me stop real quick. That's a really common step that people skip, especially in the beginning, because it's, well, my ideal client is anybody with a pulse who's going to pay me, right?
Absolutely.
I went that route. You know, everybody I know kind of pretty much went that route. And
I think it's a naive route, right? It's because we don't really understand business yet. We're just thinking anyone that's going to pay me as a client. But let's ask a fundamental question here. And this matters to me, and I'm sure it matters to you, Tracy.
Yeah.
When the idea of a client to person transaction or a client to customer transaction, the idea behind it for me, it's not just a monetary exchange. It's an exchange of value. I'm trying to make a difference in the person's life that I'm working with. I'm not just taking their money and being like, yeah, done, on to the next one. I want to see something happen and occur, a change occur for them. Now, if you're a restaurant owner, the change that you want to see is them going from hungry to full, or not satisfied to very satisfied. If you're a coach, you want them to be from point A, their pain point, to point Z, which is the end goal that you're trying to achieve for them. It's a fundamental question that anyone you work with, you want to make a difference for. If you're just out there just to make money, then I can understand what your mindset would be. Well, anyone that moves is my client. That's not how I work, though. If someone comes to me and they're willing to pay me, they're ready and willing with their checkbook or wallet is open, but I know for a fact that I'm not able to help them, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. Not because I don't need it, not because I don't want it, but because I can't possibly do that to someone else. Because what if I was switched in their shoes? What if I was the person that desperately needed help? And I put that hope into this person, this coach that said they could help me when they knew full well at the beginning that they wouldn't be able to. Right. What happened at the end of that? That's not the type of person I want to be, not the type of entrepreneur I want to be, and that's certainly not the type of entrepreneur I want you guys to be. Tracy, I'm sure you agree with this fundamentally, yes?
Absolutely. I've turned down many a client because I knew, within, like you said, the first 5 or 10 minutes that we were not going to be a good fit to work together.
Absolutely.
And, they didn't like to hear that, but I'm like, look, we're not going to be a good fit. I can't help you. However, try these people. And I could 100%. Refer them to somebody else who I felt could really help them a lot better than I could, or, maybe they wanted something that I didn't offer or whatever it was. But yeah, in the beginning, I wasn't like that though. In the beginning, I took anybody who wanted to come on board. And if I didn't know how to do what they wanted, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll figure out how to do it.
Sure. I like the honesty, because I think a lot of people fall in that category. I'd urge anyone that is listening, though, I'd urge you to try to avoid that, because even though you got to remember that these people you're speaking to are also investing in you, and you don't know their situations. They may be way worse off than you. People make irrational financial decisions, even if they're in terrible places. Someone could be $5,000 in debt and want to join, your program or pay you because they think it's going to help them get out. But if you know full well that you're not going to be able to help them, I don't think morally you can do that. And I get, what it's like to own a business and not be successful and want to try to take all clients you can. But I think we have an obligation as people in the human race to try to help each other honestly. That doesn't mean devaluing your time or not understanding the what you can help someone with, but it's important to want to actually help someone and understand that fundamental question that this is not a monetary transaction. There's a value transaction going here, and that's really important. So in lead generation, in first, again, you really want to focus on your customer avatar. Niching down is what we call it in the digital marketing space, kind of specializing into something that's going to be a very popular and confident place for you to be successful. And I'll talk about niching for just 1 second, and I'll make it super simple here. All right, let's just take, for example, in the digital marketing space, because I think this is easy. If you're selling Facebook ads, okay, and you have 10 consults, and all 10 consults are of different types of businesses. Let's just throw a couple in here. Fitness, medical spa, lawyer, doctor, and financial planner. Let's just say those first 5 calls. Now, if the first call you have with that fitness gym doesn't go your way, that second call you have with the medical spa Can you learn anything from that first call? Anything outside of fundamentally? The answer is not really, right? Because you don't understand what you did wrong in this first call that you can then change in the second call. The reason why you want to niche is so that you're focusing on all 5 of your consults are the same type of business, the same type of person. That's why you're able to know within the first 5-10 minutes, this person's qualified or not, because you know the parameters, the qualifications. So if I'm going to speak to a fitness gym, I know that they need to be able to have an $1,000 budget. Their pain point is that they're not bringing in 30 people per month to their gym, and they have some sort of asset online that I can send traffic to. If they don't hit those qualifications, they're out. Now, if I have 5 calls, all of them are fitness gyms, and 3 of the 5 qualify, we're golden. And I can learn as I go along to make my process better. I can optimize because it's basically the same exact call every time because I niche down. So think of it that way. Everything that you do when you niche down is going to be so much easier, including your prospecting, your sales, everything that you do, because now you're focused on providing for one type of person, not everyone. If you're trying to service everyone, you're not going to be able to do it. Now, I'm not saying obviously that you need to do this for a restaurant, but you get what I mean. Right. Obviously, types of down for types of businesses.
Right. So, yeah. You don't want to get
avatar,
too narrow, because if you get too narrow, then you've got to make sure it's viable. So, for example, when I first decided I wanted to niche, and my specialty, for the last 10 years, I was as a virtual assistant. So when I decided I wanted to niche years and years ago, when I first learned about this, I was really heavy into the raw foods. I was working with a raw food coach. I really loved the thought process and everything behind it. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to niche into the raw food industry. But when I started looking into it back then, there was only like 5 people who, really had viable raw food businesses. And it was too narrow. So I had to back out and spread, back that out a little bit to health and wellness instead.
Perfect. And that's a great example right
It's around my passion. It's around my expertise. It's around my knowledge. So I'm able to bring more to the table than just doing the work. I can say, okay, let's, talk about this and talk about that. And
absolutely a perfect example, Tracy.
Yeah.
The perfect example, because when you're niching down, there's several levels, like you could niche, just as a sample, you can niche into legal, but then you can niche into a specific type of legal, right? So there's all types of like niching and then niching further. And you want to get to one that's comfortable in the space where, one, the price points make sense. Number 2, you have enough of an audience to be able to succeed, right? So now in lead generation, again, customer avatar and niching down, very important. The second point that I want to make in terms of inbound lead generation, what matters is having the assets to be able to bring in inbound leads. Now, for anyone that's starting right now, the best and fastest way to generate new business, very simply, is asking your current network, your former colleagues, your friends, your family, simply messaging them, let them know, I have this business, I want to work with X person. This is not the time to be random or buddy. This is time to get to an exact point. You have to remember that the lead or referral is not their priority. It's your priority. You're the one that needs the business. So if I texted Tracy and I said, hey, Tracy, have any leads for me? She could just look at it and be like, yeah, I'll get back to that another time. However, if I messaged Tracy and said, hey, Tracy, I'm looking specifically for anyone that is a consultant 18 to 25 that needs help with lead generation. Do you know anyone off the top of your head? If you do, I'll pay you a 20% commission if they come and join me. I'm direct to the point. I'm giving her exact details. Now she can think right there and say, nope, or yeah, I do actually. Let me ask this person. All it takes is 10 to 15 seconds of their time. You can even use that in your message. Say, hey, would you like to make X amount of dollars for 10 to 15 seconds of your time? All I'm asking you is to refer me one person that you know that can fit in X model. Simple. So that's your first thing you want to do. But in terms of generating leads in general, how you're going to get proper inbound lead generation, you need to have a good asset. Now, the assets that are working very well right now in the online digital marketing world is twofold. One, Facebook lead ads. Basically, someone puts in their lead information without even leaving Facebook. Very powerful. And number 2 is using a funnel system where they click on an ad on Facebook, they go to a landing page, they opt in on whatever said landing page it is, and then on that second or third page, there's an upsell or direct to purchase or a direct to schedule a call link. These are opportunities for inbound lead generation. The problem with inbound lead generation is, one, It can cost a pretty penny, obviously very dependent on your market, where you're actually marketing from. Like if you're running ads on Google or on Facebook, the prices can change drastically. Do you know actually how to run the ads? If you don't, then you have to pay someone to do that. You have to pay for the ads themselves on the platform. You have to pay for the assets to be created. You're starting to see now the compiling of this could be anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 to create a proper inbound lead generation system. So you're probably thinking, well, I don't have $10,000 to invest into my business in the beginning. What do I do then? So the next part of this conversation, Tracy, I think is probably going to kind of focus in on cold outreach probably, which is the second type of lead generation that's a lot more effective for people kind of getting started in their business, trying to figure out if it's a viable model for them to continue.
Okay. And then he stops. All right,
time for a coffee break.
Yeah, right. Time for a coffee break. Yeah. And, kind of let this stuff sink in. You started talking about funnels. I got all excited. I'm like, now he's talking my language. I build funnels in my sleep. So
you know all about the inbound lead.
Yeah, they are absolutely costly. If you don't know the tactic, you don't know how this thing works, depending on the type of funnel that you're building. I mean, I was online in one of my groups the other day, and somebody was wanting to build a Jeff Walker type sideways sales letter. And for those of you who have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, it's
look
where
it
you
up.
opt in. Yeah, look it up. Definitely, you need to know. But it's, you opt in, you get 3 different informational videos, and then the 4th one is either points you to a webinar or upsells a course or something like that.
Exactly what I have, by the way, for prospecting on demand.
Yeah. And
another name for it is a PLF funnel, product launch funnel.
Product launch funnel, yeah.
You do 3, 4 videos, yep.
Yeah, so this guy had no clue what he was doing, and he was like, well, how do I get the people who've opted in to, he was trying to figure this out. He had to totally confusing, and I'm going,
yeah. There's so many assets involved in creating a proper system. That's why I never recommend, new people in the industry to just jump in with a lead generation system unless you have like an investor. If your business is getting started and you have like a $40,000, $50,000 startup price and your overhead is only like $10,000, $25,000, then go for it. Sure, absolutely, of course. But if you're starting out with like 0, literally, which is a lot of entrepreneurs, you can't afford to do that. There's way too many variables. The copywriting itself, the VSLs, what type of videos you're going to have, the offers, what product you're even going to sell at the end of it. The software, the email nurture sequence, too much involved. So it's a little bit of a too much of something for someone that's just getting started to consider, but that has to be your end goal. 100% must be your end goal.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about cold lead generation. What does that even mean?
So cold outreach is essentially, cold leads are essentially no longer people coming into you, but you reaching out to someone that actually needs help. Now, the ineffective way of doing this and the most common way of the last 70 to 100 years is cold calling, right? Since the dawn of the phone, when the rotary phone came out, there was solicitors calling people to sell everything from vacuum cleaners to batteries to new couches to new software products, to now IRS scams and phishing scams. Y'all know it, right? You're getting calls probably all the time. Now, cold calling in some businesses work very well. If you have a good call list and you have a very good motivated and passionate speaker. But cold calling is a great way for you to get really, really down on yourself. There's a lot of failure in cold calling. It's very easy to feel frustrated, to not feel motivated, and to dig yourself in a deeper valley. Business, and I'm sure Tracy will agree with this, everything is hills and valleys, always. No matter how great your systems are, there's always going to be hills and valleys. When you're starting, you're trying to build up to the hill. So cold calling, in my opinion, you're just digging yourself a deeper valley. That's what I really do believe with cold calling. I do not see it being a viable method. Now, if you're someone that is insanely confident and has no problem getting rejected time and time again just to get that one, you can go for it, sure. It's never something I'd recommend, though. There's a lot better cold outreach methods that are available now. So a couple of them include LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a fantastic method for cold outreach. You can get on LinkedIn for absolutely free. You can also utilize some of the tools that we have in Prospecting on Demand that cost about like $70 for automated systems. But you can go into LinkedIn right now, go on there, find your most ideal prospect, connect with them, reach out to them, and give them an offer for them to want to work with you. Whether it's a video audit, a competitor analysis, schedule a call with me, whatever it may be. You can get leads directly from LinkedIn right away. Facebook is another one. Facebook, there's over, I think, 500 million profiles on Facebook. I think there might be more. I think there almost is a billion profiles on Facebook, which is
a lot of people.
Astronomical. It's crazy how many people are on Facebook. Your audience is on Facebook. You can directly reach out to the person that you want. If you have, a lead in mind, a person that you can find on Facebook and connect with them and say, hey, I'm interested in helping you do this, that, and the other. Here's my offer. That's an opportunity to get in touch with them. Now, obviously, it really depends on what type of business model you have. The best piece of overall advice I can give you for cold outreach are these couple of terms. One, video is king. Video dominates over everything. People have a very short attention span in this day and age. So if you're going out there cold outreach style and writing, sales letters in messages on LinkedIn, Facebook, and email, no one's reading that. No one's responding to it, and it's a waste of your time. Don't do it. You can use a tool called Loom, Loom. It's absolutely free. Allows you to do 10-minute video audits, just like the one that Tracey and I are doing right now, but you can actually screen share, go through a process, share with them how you can help them. Here's my competitive advantage. Here's what I can do to help you. If you're interested, get in touch with me. Simple. Now it's a video. You're giving them a reason to get in touch with you. Now, if you're doing a video, make sure it's no longer than 10 minutes. It should always be less than 10 minutes. There's this psychological trick. Someone goes on YouTube, there's a video that's over 10 minutes. There's a chance if they have anything else to do, they might not watch it. Videos on YouTube that have under 10-minute watch times, for some reason, have a much higher rate of watching the whole thing. Just because that's the attention span we have these days. It's very, very, very short. So you have to keep that in mind. Video is king. Next on cold outreach, do not go directly for the jugular every time. If you're going directly for your call to action, which is like the ultimate goal you're going for, let's say your ultimate goal is to close them on a $97 a month package you have. If you go into cold outreach, they have no idea who you are, they're a cold lead completely, and you offer them a $97 package, I'd be confident in saying that you can send 10,000 of those messages and probably no one would purchase it. That's how confident I am in saying that.
I agree.
Now, you're never going to send 10,000 messages in any time. I mean, maybe 2 years. It's going to be a lot of people that you'd have to reach out to get that number. But in a more realistic terms, if you're reaching out to 30-ish people per day, which is what I recommend the Prospecting on Demand team do, you will not get a single response. You will not get a single purchase at that. It's not going to happen.
There's no like and trust factor there.
Exactly. Why is someone just going to pay you out of nowhere for no reason?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right. I mean, if they're going to do that, then hey, I've got a bridge in,
Exactly.
I've got oceanfront property in Arizona. Let's go for it.
Yeah, just pay me $100,000 and then I'll fly you out there and you'll see it, even though it's fake. It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense to go for the jugular. You're always going for letter Z, right? That's the end goal. You're always going for the person to pay you. In cold outreach, you should be going to like halfway through the alphabet. Whatever your initial opportunity is to make them anything more than a cold lead. So a warmer lead to a hot lead, right? So what I mean by that is, instead of offering Craig, hey, Craig, I have a $97 package I want to sell you. Purchase here. Never going to happen. Instead, you say, hey, Craig, I saw this for your business. I can see that you're not doing this. Here's my competitive advantage, or here's my something that I can help you with. Would you like to hop on a call to discuss this a bit further? No obligation whatsoever, but I'm happy to help you. Now, instead of jumping for Z, which is the sale, you're trying to get them on a call first, make them a warmer lead, and use your sales tactics on the phone to close them, which is a lot more opportunistic. So I'd recommend, if you're doing cold outreach, either go after cold emails, outreach on Facebook, or reach out to people on LinkedIn. Those are 3 really great methods for cold outreach, more opportunity than ever before to reach out to people and get opportunities to come through your door.
Do you find that cold outreach, does it really work for you? Because I know I get those emails all the time where, hey, I saw your, and you can tell that they're canned. I saw your website and you need to do the SEO and
absolutely.
And I just roll my eyes and hit delete. So
most people are going to do that.
It almost feels like cold calling through email, and it just feels so icky. So
You're correct. So cold emails, in my opinion, is the worst of the methods. First of all, there's like many platforms now that have very good software to know what's junk and what's not. In fact, if you go in junk right now, you're probably going to see some cold emails that are not actually junk the way you thought it was. Like junk in the old days is like that person saying, hey, is this you? Dirty pictures, right? Like that's real junk. Not someone sending you a cold email saying that SEO, but they've created good parameters to know, I don't know who this person is. He's making you some sort of offer, junk. You're probably not going to see that. There's a large percentage of that. Exactly. So there's a lot of those types of emails. The way to combat that is to have a CRM like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber, Infusionsoft. I can go on, and have some sort of way to change up the email. So either you're split testing 2 emails, but at the very least you have to have the person's name. So it can't be like, hey, business owner. It has to say, hey, Tracy. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the greatest and most effective email, but you absolutely can do 30 manual emails. Is that as effective as it is 30 automated emails? Of course not. So you just have to kind of play a game, figure out what's your best method. That's why I prefer cold outreach on Facebook or LinkedIn. I think they're a lot better.
Okay. Using the email platform, Aweber, whatever it is we use, and you're just inputting these email addresses, they haven't opted into your list, and then you're just sending out this cold email. I mean, does that not go against CanSpam?
Well, it depends. If you're in Canada, yes, you can't do it.
Okay.
If you're in the United States, you're fine. I don't think anywhere else in Canada, definitely don't do it.
Canada, sure. No. Yeah, that's a definite double opt-in.
Yeah, and nothing's really going to happen anyways. Like, I've never heard of anyone getting hunted down by them, but it's not worth it anyways. It's just not worth it. Like, you're going to not make that much money anyways, probably from a single opportunity. So I wouldn't risk it if I were you. So definitely you want to avoid CanSpam. But I always put in any type of email that you send that's cold, like who you are, where you're from, and if you're not interested, you have to have an unsubscribe button. Another great way to do that is if you have a LinkedIn contacts and you're building up LinkedIn, you can actually export your LinkedIn contacts and send them emails as well, which is a fantastic method for cold outreach. That's a little bit warmer because they might remember your name from, oh, that guy's friends with me on LinkedIn. Awesome.
All right. Well, I think this gives us a lot of insight on how to get started, at least, building the list and building our leads and getting some lead generation coming in. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
I know it's given me a few ideas. I've written down a few notes here. So
good to hear.
Yeah. So everybody, if you're interested in learning more about Alex, if you're interested in learning about his prospecting on demand, just click the button below this video and go check out his website and see what he's got to offer. And make sure
prospectingondemand.com/welcome.
There you go. All right, Alex, thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate the time so much. Thanks so much for the time, Tracy. Everyone that's listening, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much for taking the time. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with, guys.
Okay.
Think of this, all right? A lot of people forget about this process when they are in the process of building a business. Everyone's always going for the gold, the journey, the goal. The gold or the goal, right? You're always trying to find what's at the end of the rainbow, right? What's always next? What's next? What's at the end of this? What's the next opportunity? Don't only think about what the end goal is. If you only think about getting to letter Z, like I was talking about, it's going to be hard for you to be satisfied with where you're at every day, because getting to that end goal may take longer than you can imagine. It may take a very short time, but you don't feel fulfilled during the time of your journey. Remember that the journey is an exciting part of the process. Even when it's hard, it's exciting because you're your own boss. You chose this entrepreneurial journey because you wanted this. This is what you asked for. So don't just go for letter Z. Remember that the journey is exciting. And this is the final piece right here. Why is the present time called the present? Because it's a gift. This is an opportunity you have right now, this exact moment, to do whatever you want, to live the life that you can. None of our time is guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. 5 seconds from now is not guaranteed. None of it. So if you're only focused on the goal, at the end goal, you're never going to be able to enjoy or feel fulfilled during the life that you're living. Business, especially as an entrepreneur, is very interconnected with your personal life. I understand that very, very well. So that means every single day, what I do, and hopefully this will help you too, remember 3 things you're grateful for. 2 personally, 1 in your business, no matter how bad it is. And then remember that the journey is exciting. And so when you do get to that goal, it's going to make the whole process a whole lot better, guys. I hope that gives you a good mindset moving forward. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. Tracy, thanks for having me here. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Thank you, Alex. That was awesome. I love that the present is a gift. I'm going to have to write that down. That's perfect. Listeners, thank you so much. And we will catch you on the next episode.
See you guys.